us get into a little more detail, because we motivated ourselves into this requirement, right. Response time, jitter, bandwidth, redundant communication channels, and we divided this whole system into very broad areas. Engine compartment, we called it the powertrain part, then there is the chassis part, and then there is the body part. So powertrain, chassis and body. So we have to know a little more in detail about this powertrain itself. See, this powertrain is a very complex control law that is running inside, okay. So there are very complex control laws, sampling is happening at millisecond duration, because it is all to do with engine rotation and all of that. So you need a microcontroller which has very high compute, you must have OS or whatever software that is running to do multitasking. You will have to meet stringent time constraints as well, which means that the powertrain is a critical part there, and which has certain quality of service requirements, which perhaps is highest requirements, highest. Equally high is the requirement from the chassis part. This is the chassis part, okay. But what I have done is I have tried to show you that the powertrain cannot work in independence, it cannot work in isolation, it has to work with the chassis domain. And the chassis domain itself, as I mentioned, ABS is there, let us look back at what all are there. In the suspension is there, steering is there, braking is there, all of that is part of the ABS system. Also ESP, I never elaborated it too much to you, but indeed ESP is the electronic safety program, which some of the current day cars seem to come with. See, again everything is moving in the autonomous part. People are building, manufacturers, vendors are building small modules, which will all of it culminate into a nice safe way of sitting inside vehicles. And please note, I keep repeating this, it is not that autonomous driving has come today. The whole traction towards building autonomous systems have happened over 30-40 years, right. So, and that is what we are trying to discuss all through. So this ESP is interesting because it allows you to keep the vehicle on road. Think of a situation where there is a track and there is a big truck in front of you, and you are in your own way moving slowly towards that, and then suddenly from nowhere there is an obstacle here, okay. You are going in your lane, suddenly there is an obstacle. So the ESP program keeps the vehicle on the road by ensuring that it samples the condition of the road at something like 25 hertz, okay, 25 times per second. It keeps sampling using some sensor, realizes that there is an obstacle, and then commands back to the powertrain to cut speed and so on, and apply brake or keep it on the track. In fact, cut speed in a manner that it does not skid. When the steering is swiveled, when you swivel the steering just to avoid the obstacle, you are often at such a high speed that it may turn round, or you may have a collision, you may have a dent, it can lead to any dangerous situation. Even if you swivel with the steering, the vehicle tends to put the car on the road, put the vehicle back on road in a manner that it is safe for people inside. So this ESP is a very interesting program. Alright, so if you so this is so it has certain constraints, it has certain requirements when you talk about that. So you will essentially be talking about chassis functions are indeed very important, and as important as the other one as I mentioned. So essentially more critical from a safety point of view, this is very important. Chassis, which I wrote here, this is more critical, I would say more critical from a safety point of view. All these ESP programs which are part of the chassis indeed gives you that feeling that it is very critical. So in summary, powertrain, okay, and the chassis both operate in closed loop. This is so important to understand. It really operates in closed loop, and this is indeed a closed loop. I would say it is a closed loop control system. So, if you are familiar with controls, you will find it exciting to work in this area, and everything is moving towards time triggered and all that. Then there is the other one which is all about the dashboard. Then you have wipers, I mentioned to you about wipers, then lights, doors, seats, mirrors, you name it, which are all part of climate control. These are all software based systems, part of the body, climate control, AC and so on, right, AC parts, blowers and ACs and all that, they all come under the body part, and they are all mostly software controlled, and they exchange small pieces of information among themselves. Okay. They have numerous functions, but they exchange plenty of information, many exchanges of small pieces of information. Not all nodes require a high bandwidth. You can design low cost networks for this systems, and you can put them under a low cost network like LIN. Okay. LIN is local interconnect network, local interconnect network. Okay. So, most of the body related things will have a LIN network, but whereas powertrain and chassis will have a CAN network. So, you see what we are trying to show you, what we are leading to is that while you are going in for away from the point to point systems to shared communication based systems, because you want to reduce the weight due to wiring, harness and all that, put them into a bus systems, a single bus is not going to work for you. A single protocol is not going to work for you because of this requirement. Which requirement? This requirement. Response time, jitter, bandwidth and redundant communication channels. If you put them in the forefront, you will say I can't do this with this protocol, but I do not need this for this requirement. So, if you match a requirement to what you want to achieve, you have a requirement and what you can put there on the vehicle, then you will have to necessarily design multiple protocols, and that is why the fact that a vehicle has a LIN protocol comes into picture. So, here we will get into the detail of the LIN. One node which is termed as the master possesses an accurate clock and drives the communication by polling other nodes. So, there is a master, this is a master slave paradigm. Master holds an accurate clock, okay, and drives the communication by polling the other nodes, which are essentially slaves. You poll them periodically, okay. These are slaves and this is the master, and then you start periodically, and then the mixture of different communication channels is now very clear motivation. Somehow you may also want to interconnect, right. On the one side you need a different network, but you may want to interconnect and then integrate these subsystems. So, all of that you would do by mixing LIN with CAN on a backbone. CAN plus LIN can happen only by at the backbone level, okay. So, you will have multiple networks, all of them connected at the backbone level. I will tell you in a peculiar way why you need to interconnect this, okay. For instance, if a door is open door is open, let us say, door is open, you may not want to start the engine at all, which is part of the powertrain, or you may not want to release the brake if it is part of the chassis. So, unless you have an integrated solution, ECUs talking amongst themselves, but each one of them having their own specific requirements, this is not going to give you a full solution, it will not give you safety. Therefore, if you ask yourself a question, door is open, what should you do? The ECU simply signals that a door is open, and then the powertrain ECU says I am not going to allow this car to start. Now, the chassis may say that I am not going to allow the brake to release, the brake will be on and the vehicle cannot move till the door is closed. You can have that safety consideration. So, all these things essentially mean these ECUs have to communicate amongst themselves. That is a very important thing. All of this leads to different types of classes of networks. You will have something called class A, which is multipurpose and which is essentially very low data rate requirement, okay, something like 10 kilobits per second. Then you will have class B networks. These are typically 10 kilobits per second to about 100 kilobits per second, and these are also non-critical, I would say, non-critical. This is anyway non-critical, this is non-critical, okay. Seat control, door lock, okay, all of them need some low cost technology. Then you can have class B, between ECUs you may want to exchange data, and they will essentially be 10 to 100 or 125 kilobits per second, and they essentially use low speed CAN, okay, you can be using low speed CAN. So, they are essentially, I would say, for gluing between class A and the class C, okay. Supposing you have another class C, class B is more for gluing purpose. So, I will say between ECUs, between ECUs. So, when I say ECU, I mean electronic control unit, okay. If there are multiple electronic control units, communication between them is something which you can use with 10 to 125 or 100 kilobits per second, but it is still non-critical. It can also be for gluing between classes, because it is essentially between ECUs, not necessarily within the same class, but also across classes. You will have to see what a careful decision, how you make this careful decision, but what should be connecting at what rate, what ECU should be connected at what rate between them. So, then there is class C, right. So, the class C essentially real time, and you are looking at, so if this is 100, I will say this is at 125 kilobits per second to about 1 megabit per second, 1 Mbps, up to 1 Mbps or so. This is high speed real time, high speed real time. Then, so that is what you would say, and then there is class D, which is more than 1 Mbps, greater than 1 Mbit per second. This is high speed real time CAN, I will say here, and then associate this with powertrain and chassis. This is greater than 1 megabit per second, and this is mostly for multimedia, right, multimedia, correct. And they use another protocol called MOST here. MOST is another protocol, media oriented system transport, MOST. So, that is going under class D, very high data rates, okay. Sometimes you may also want to use this class D for safety critical, applications. Currently you can say that they are mostly centered around class C and class D. Most of the modern cars are under either class C or class C, but not the lower side. It has to be around the 1 Mbps range for all safety critical applications where you need predictability, fault tolerance and so on. All this you will be using higher. So here actually you will talk about another protocol which is FlexRay, MOST and FlexRay. FlexRay also comes here. What is a good example today? Look at Volvo XC90. It has roughly 40 ECUs interconnected by LIN bus. Okay. There is also a MOST. You will see a MOST, you will see low speed CAN, okay, that is here between the class C around the 500 kilobits per second to 1 megabit per second. You will see a CAN, low speed CAN. You will also see a high speed CAN, okay. All of that integrated into this vehicle. Is that it's reality that such networks exist inside a vehicle. So many ECUs exist, so many different type of protocols exist